Wayne, first of all, what's it like to be back in the England squad, and what kind of welcome have you had from the other members of the squad?
Yeah, it's nice to be back here. Obviously turning up, meeting the players again. Obviously some players who I haven't played with, obviously players who I've played with. But it was nice to see all the players and the staff, and the reception they gave me was fantastic. So it's great to be back here.
It came as a bit of a shock when it was announced that you were going to be coming back for this final performance. How did this all come about?
Yeah, I think we were speaking, obviously stayed in contact with the FA, and we were speaking probably for about 12 months over different ideas, and there was opportunity to do the game before the World Cup, which I didn't feel was right. We weren't the right timing to do that. And this was, we both felt was the right time to do it. My season's over in the States, and obviously the game against USA, and it's a friendly match before obviously the lads play Croatia on Sunday, so we all felt it was the right time and the right game.
Why didn't you want to do it before the World Cup?
I think because the players are obviously preparing for the biggest tournament in football, and I don't think, personally, I didn't feel it was right to get in the way of that, and I think it was the right decision.
It has been quite a controversial decision. A lot of people, everybody seems to have an opinion about it. Some people are for it, some people are against it. Do you understand where people are coming from when they say they don't think it's a good idea, they think it devalues the actual game and it devalues the England cap?
Again, I think everyone is entitled to their opinions. I think the most important thing is, you know, speaking with the FA, we both felt it was right. The players, obviously, who I've spoke to and who the FA have spoke to, they agreed. I think it's right, and I think as a country, obviously we haven't done anything like this before. It's the first time, and I hope that, you know, in 10-15 years' time, we're sat here for someone, say Harry Kane, who could possibly go on and get the goal scoring record. Then it'll be something which will happen again, and of course it's something different, and I'm not asking people to agree with it, but I think what's important as well was when it was said the game was going to go ahead, and obviously I was going to come and take part. There'd be money raised for the children as well, in the Wayne Rooney Foundation, which was important to me also.
We know you're not going to start the game, you're going to come on during the second half. What do you think it will feel like to come on for the final time at Wembley wearing the England shirt?
Yeah, it'll be strange, but it's something which I'm looking forward to. Again, I think I had my first training session yesterday with the team, well, some of the team, and it was strange, obviously, getting back in amongst the players and training. But no, to run out at Wembley again, and it will be something which I'm extremely proud of, and it'll be a special moment for sure.
Do you feel like you're good enough, fit enough to start the game? Would you have preferred to start the game?
No, I think, as I said to Gareth, whatever he wants from me in the game is what I'll try and give him, and it's important. I obviously know this is the last game for me, and I'm not putting any pressure. I've seen obviously bits where it's saying should he wear the number 10, should he wear the armband. I'm not making any demands, or I'm not saying I want to do this, want to do that. My message to Gareth was, you get what you need out of the game from the players, what you feel you need, and when you feel it's right to bring me on, then that's fine for me. So hopefully you can do that, get what's right for the players, and then at some stage during the second half I can come on.
we know this will be the last time you play for England. Do you think it'll also be the last time you play in England? Or will we see you back here again sometime in the future?
No. I think I made the decision to obviously go to the States, and I'm sure, as you well know, when I make a decision, then I tend to stick with it, and it's important to me that I give my full commitment to DC. So obviously seen talk about a loan move back here, which I'm not prepared to do, and obviously finding my feet in the States, and my children obviously now go to school there, so it wouldn't be fair on them for me to come back and have them moving back and forward.
Do you think you'll finish your career in the States, or is there a chance that you'd come back one day?
No, I'll finish my career there.
Going back to the World Cup this summer, how well England did in Russia. Did you watch the games? What did you make of their performances?
I thought they were excellent. I think first of all, the coaches got it spot on with the preparation. Obviously there was a change in formation before the tournament, and the players you know, done more than maybe what people expected them to do. So to go to the semi-final, I think it was a shame they couldn't take that next step and get to the final, but certainly from my point of view, watching from a different country, you know, had an enormous amount of pride watching them perform so well, and it was really satisfying watching them surrounded by obviously a lot of foreign players, foreign people, to know that your country are doing you proud.
You've played under 6 different England managers. What's Gareth like to play for? How would you compare him to the other managers?
I'd have to say fearless, because a lot of the other managers didn't really give the youth the opportunity to express themselves and to come into the team and have an impact, where I think, in fairness to Gareth, he's tried to do that, he's done that, he's brought a lot of young players through, and not only giving them experience but giving them a belief that they can do well and perform well and be successful for the country. So I think he's probably the first manager out of the 6 managers I played for. He's probably the only one who really, I know obviously there was a few younger players, a few individuals who might have come through, but to bring so many in as a group and have that trust in them, I think he deserves a lot of credit for that.
And on Thursday night, I think it's been 3 years since you scored a goal at Wembley. I think the last England goal you scored was against Iceland in the Euros. How important is it for you to score on Thursday? Would that be the perfect fairy tale ending?
It would, of course, but no, it's not that important. It'd be nice, but I think the main thing for me is to obviously run out one last time and have the opportunity to thank the fans for the years I played for them, who supported me gratefully. And you know, as I said before, I think it's an important night to try and raise money for the children, which is I'm really close to. So it is an important match for me, of course, but I think to score will be perfect. But if it doesn't happen, I'm not going to let that ruin the occasion what it is.
And the final one for me, just looking back over those 119 games, do you have any regrets, or do you think you just gave everything there was to give for the England cause?
No, I think things happen, good and bad, in football, and you have to accept that. I think, of course, it would have been nice to have won something. There's not many of England players who've done that, and no, I appreciate obviously my time in the England squad. Great memories, met some great people, great friends, and the only regret, if you like, was maybe not having that last game, which you know, my way of saying thank you to the fans. That's possibly the only regret I had.
Wayne, obviously you're not in the Premier League anymore, but you're playing at a decent level, it has to be said, in the States. Did you notice any difference in intensity coming back with these guys again?
I think, of course, the Premier League is, in my opinion, the best league there is, and of course, the difference in terms we're playing with some of the best players in world football in the Premier League, so there are a few differences, of course, but no, it's to come back and be around the lads again and be part of the last 2 training sessions has been something I've really enjoyed and settled in quite well.
Obviously you said it's been going on now for about 12 months, backwards and forwards, what would happen. When was the exact point you learnt you would be playing again, and what were your emotions about walking out on a pitch once more for England?
I think once I knew I'd be playing was after we went out to the playoffs. With DC, it was still unsure whether I was going to play or whether I was going to come and just be around the team. And then once we obviously went out the playoffs, spoke with Gareth and I think he felt, and at that time my season was over, then we felt it was right that I played some part in the game.
And what were your emotions when you knew you would be doing that once more?
Yeah, a bit strange. Obviously I think it's been 2 years since my last game for England, and so no, I was just excited really, and obviously it's nice to obviously be back home for a week before I go back, but yeah, it was just a moment of excitement and looking forward to the game now on Thursday.
Obviously you've walked back into this row. What would you say to former players or pundits who believe you should be honoured but that you shouldn't play?
Again, I think everyone is entitled to their opinion, whether they agree with it or not. It's something which is happening and something which the FA and a lot of people feel is right. And I think with some players, I think we all know a lot of the older players, particularly the players who won the World Cup, we know that they weren't seated as well as they possibly should have been. But that's through no fault of the members of the FA or the coaching staff today. I think the FA are trying to move in a different direction and celebrate the players who have made the impact for the country. So yeah, it's going to be split opinions because it's the first one, but hopefully in the future there will be a lot more.
Colleen tweeted about coming home and sort of walking into this negativity. Do you feel it's a bit of a shock to the system? Now you're living in a country where actually they do lift up their sporting stars.
No, I think the same with Colleen. She's entitled to her opinion, and like a lot of the ex-players or a lot of the journalists who have their opinion.
Gareth said last week that he wants England players now to embrace the players of the past and learn from them. What do you think the biggest thing you've learnt from your England career is, and what advice would you be giving to those coming into the England setup?
Enjoy it. It's a huge honour in your career. Probably the biggest honour you can have to play for your country and represent them in a major tournament. So enjoy it. Obviously, it's not always all going to be good every time, every tournament, every game. So just keep trying to learn and make sure you're one of them players who can try and bring a trophy back to England, which it's long overdue. And I think myself, along with I'm sure a lot of you guys, of the opinion that the squad is growing, is getting better, and I'm excited to see them in the next tournament.
Wayne, as you've just been talking about, Gareth has said in the last week he's trying to change things, change the perception of previous internationals, try to keep them part of the England family. When you were playing for all those years, was that something you noticed was missing, that you didn't have that connection with former internationals?
Yeah, I think I can't recall a time really where an ex-player come to the training ground and or was round any of the players, so it's I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but I think obviously Gareth wants to move forward and wants to go in this way, and I think it's great. I think you're seeing people like Glenn Hoddle have been in, Ian Wright's been in, and for some of the younger players, they're probably too young to have seen them play actually, but for some players they're big heroes, and so I think it's nice for them to come in and for them as well to feel, to know that they're not just forgotten, and the national team hasn't just moved on. It's nice for them to feel they're still part of the setup.
So even if you were playing for your country at the top of your game, you can still get inspiration from the former internationals that you've mentioned, those kind of players?
Yeah, of course. Some of my heroes growing up, obviously Paul Gascoigne and Alan Shearer, they're players who I looked up to and tried to emulate at times, obviously when I was younger. So it would have been, I think if one of them two would have walked in the dressing room when I was a young player, you'd probably be in awe of them, and it'd be great for the team. So just whether you can speak to them and get some advice of them. So I think what Gareth is doing is the right thing, and I'm sure once we get beyond this game and the next one or the one after that comes along, I'm sure a lot of people will come to accept him.
When you were in these long discussions about how you were going to say farewell, did you ever consider doing things differently, or was the pull to pull on an England shirt again just too strong for you?
Yeah, well, like I said, I only really knew it was going to happen after we went out to playoffs a couple of weeks ago, and I knew the game was going to happen, but so whether I was going to take part in the game or not, that obviously weren't confirmed then, and it was only when we went out there, once we spoke with Gareth and the FA, that we felt it was right, it was the right game to do it in, and so here we are. It'd be a special moment for me, that's for sure.
I suppose what I meant was pulling on the shirt your idea? Was it something you really wanted to do, or would you have been happy with standing on the halfway line at half-time and getting presented with something and saying goodbye to the fans that way?
Yeah, I think it was a joint decision. I'm not going to say it was my decision or it was the FA's. It's something which we've been discussing, whether we felt it was right to take part in the game, or whether it was, as you said, to come out before or half-time of the game. And I think as different situations occurred, then we come to an understanding that we both felt it was the best thing was to take part.
Hi Wayne. You've said this will be absolutely your last cap for England, but is there a bit of a boy's own dream that you could have mixing cones, a final innings like Alistair Cook did, have a hat-trick and maybe give Southgate a headache?
No, it will be my last game, and I think obviously my form has been good in the States, and if I got called up into the squad if it weren't the situation it is and I actually got called up, then that's obviously a different situation, but this will be my last game for sure.
You said you were watching the World Cup as a fan. You watched Harry Kane pick up the Golden Boot. What was it like to hear him say then that unequivocally he'd hand over his captain's armband to you? Are you now a bit of a fan watching England heroes? What was that like to hear?
To hear what, sorry?
Hear Harry Kane say he would unequivocally hand over his captain's armband to you.
Yeah, Harry's I think first of all he's a great person, but also he's a great football player, and it was great to see him get the Golden Boot. Obviously, I know how hard he works to score goals, so it was great to see. And yeah, if he hands it over, great. But I think the important thing for me is not whether I wear the armband or not whether I wear number 10 or whether I play 90 minutes. It was to have the opportunity to pull on the shirt again for that last time, and as I keep saying, it certainly will be a special moment.
We've seen quite a generational shift, a very honest camp now, where players and former players have been very honest about failings in the past and attitudes in the past. We're now in a society where people talk about their emotions and talk about their feelings. Can you give us an indication now of how that has changed this England setup when you arrived here? Could you see that, this new togetherness?
I don't think it's a new togetherness. I think it's something which comes when you bring a group in together of young players. I seen it over 2 years ago now, which with the talent we had with the young players, and I believe that these young players, maybe not in the World Cup, but I thought maybe the one after that they'd be good enough to have a real go at it, which obviously they proved me wrong with my feelings before with doing so well in the World Cup, and so I think they feel comfortable. Sometimes if you come in as one player or two players when you're a young lad, it can be intimidating, it can be a bit difficult, but to bring so many in, they feel comfortable around each other, which is really important.
And also, you originated from Everton, but when you were playing, a lot of the players were taken from the top 4 or 5 clubs. You now got players from all over the league. How competitive is it in this team now?
Yeah, I think it's competitive, obviously, and it's good that there's players from different teams. It shows that if you're good enough, whether you're playing for Man City, Man United, Liverpool, or Crystal Palace, for instance, no disrespect, but you're going to get, if you're good enough and you perform well, that you're going to get an opportunity to represent the national team. So I think that will be inspiring to a lot of young players across the country.
Callum Wilson also getting his call up alongside you. What do you make of him as a talent? I know some big clubs looking out for him.
Yeah, I think he started the season really well, obviously scoring goals. I think it's great to see him get the opportunity to come into the squad. Obviously he had a horrific injury, and to come back from that and be doing so well for Bournemouth, and obviously I'm sure he'll be really proud of getting the opportunity to come into the England squad.
So walking back at Wembley again for one final time, it must have made you cast your mind back and think of your moments down there in North London. What are the key moments that you've been thinking of in these weeks building up to this?
I think just obviously getting a bit of time on the pitch and enjoying it. I think I know certainly from my personal experiences, there's a lot of times where you maybe didn't enjoy it as much as you could have or should have. So it's a game which I'm going to enjoy the time I get on the pitch, and it will be emotional. It'll be my last game, obviously, and so the important thing for me is to enjoy them.
Which are the matches that you look back at now and say, that was special, I should have appreciated that at the time?
No, I think there's been some really good games. There, obviously the Poland game, which qualified us for the World Cup, I think was a great victory, a great moment, and I think the one what stands out for me is my goal against Switzerland to break the record. Special moment for me, and something which I'll always look back on and be proud to have done that.
Okay, we'll have one last question in the live section from John Murray.
Wait, is there actually a tinge of regret for you that you made the decision to retire from international football, and therefore you weren't able to be a part of what this young team went on to achieve at the World Cup?
No, I think my decision, I believe still now, was the right decision. I could see obviously the younger players coming in the squad, and I just felt it was the right time for me, obviously to stop playing, but it was the right time for them younger lads to have the opportunity and step up, and someone like, obviously, as he has done, Harry Kane, to take over as captain. I just felt, I looked at it, obviously I didn't make the decision easy, but when I looked at it, I just felt for myself, but also for the team. It was the right time.
And when you walk back into it, do you detect a sense of just a greater international maturity amongst this squad?
Yeah, and I think it's changed also. I think the coaches are doing a fantastic job also, and even obviously being here for one day, having 2 training sessions, I can see the work the coaches are doing, which I think is fantastic, because sometimes you can have a group of young players but who are talented, but they might never achieve what they want to if they're not getting the right coaching. And I can honestly say, from what I've seen in the last couple of days, from the coaches, I believe they're getting the right coaching, the right messages, and that will really help them.